I said many times that if somebody is on top of a tower and he's directing someone on the ground to find his way from point A to point B. The one who is on the ground does not at all see the possibility of going from here to there. And yet, he follows the direction that is being given to him. And we said many times, the Talmud already has he's a Talmud. It's kind of prepared for this direction. What prepares him for this? And it is that despite that he has no idea, and he cannot possibly imagine that there is a path from here to there, but from a higher perspective, he knows that there is an intent in this entire plan. And because there is an intent in this entire plan, therefore, there has to be a correlation between one place and another place. This correlation is not merely on the practical level, but on a conceptual level. Which is called the hiyuli. He knows that there is a correlation, not because he understands how the relationship exists, and he can argue the point what their correlation knows. Not at all that. He knows that there must be. Since there must be, therefore there is someplace hidden a correlation. Why must there be? Because there is a source and a cause for all this existence. This is called the etzem. That etzem element, and I said way back when we discussed the Indian from the Talmud, that the Talmud also recognizes, knows. Like we said many times, if the Talmud asks a question, he doesn't understand. From the question you could see whether he is a Talmud or he is an outsider. What does that mean? To him, does this question refute what the Rav said? Or is the question a pathway to understand what the Rav said? It's a very important distinction. It's interesting. Everybody learned Tosfos one time in our life, in Gemara Tosfos. Tosfos is full of kashas. What is the terminology with which Tosfos introduces a kasha? Hello? What's the matter?
I'm thinking, I remember
How is Tosfos to introduce a kasha? Can you think of it? V'im toimer. Doesn't say kosher. It says v'im toimer. What does that mean, v'im toimer?
If you say.
If you should say, I have very happy prepared that answer for you. Yes, it's a kasha. But inherent in the kasha, there is an answer. There are occasions, relatively rare, in the what says for kosher, and that is really a kosher. Sometimes it leaves it unanswered. But most of the questions of Hashis is of internal. This V'im Toimer is alluding to the fact that we're relating in the terminology to the hiyuli of the Seichel. It has to be correct, whether I see how it is correct or not. Therefore, if I have a difficulty, go break your head and find the answer. And sometimes Tosfos reintroduces the whole Gemara from a completely different perspective. So it's the whole thing that we've interpreted until now is not the way to learn it. This kasha tells you that the really approach would be completely different. But the reality itself stays. That reality, the Talmud also must know. Otherwise, it's not a Talmud. In other words, the meaning of a Talmud is he wants to know the truth, not he wants to question, is there a truth? That is clearly a very extremely challenging thing to do out. And he has to go to the hiyuli of the Seichel, which comes from the Etzem HaNefesh. What convinces you? What is it that says that the Talmud also knows the truth? Because he has an Etzem HaNefesh. This is Goranyin from the Munah. He knows that there is a truth. And it's on this basis that he asks a question. On this basis, the Rab explains it to him. But he has to dig in to that level and present it to him from that level. He has, like we said, there's no chayes. What's meant no chayes? No hamshocha of chayes. There's an etzem chayes. Seichel is hamshocha chayes. Then you have to come to the point where there's no hamshocha chayes, but there is the etzem, there is the yuli, and that. From that angle, from that level, this is where he approaches it, to formulate words with which to explain it from that vantage point.
When the Rav first came up with the Seichel, first revealed the Seichel, he also must have had to go to the Koyach HaYuli.
Absolutely, that's what the Rambam says. You say that's what. This is the basis of the Rav's reality.
So why, when he has to explain it to the Talmud, is it such a kind of a new thing that he's coming to the Koyach HaYuli? Because
when he understood it for himself, he knew this truth to himself. He approached it Hatchila that he knows, but now he has talked to the Talmud. The Talmud has no idea of it. He has to start presenting it, like I said, we started playing this yesterday. He has to bring down the Seichel to the level where you don't have an inkling of your own at all. And that's where he has to come down and formulate words and oisias with which to alert the Talmud to this truth.
The difference between him and the Talmud is that the Rav has a much better perception of this reality, the Koach HaYuli?
In very brief, okay, it is that the Rav's thought process is based on this reality to begin with. Like the Rambam says, what is the foundation of all knowledge? So to the Rav, there is no world, there is a Motzei Rishon. The Rav, the Talmud is in the world. You have to convince him, yes, there is a world, but the world has a creator, and so forth. Okay. All right, so we will continue. This is, as I said, page Nun Vov. At the end of the fourth line, he says that the shoyresh, the root of this Heyulidus of Seichel, that enables the Rav to find the oisius with which to present and explain the Seichel to the Talmud. The shoyresh of that is from the Koyach HaYuli of Seichel, and ultimately the Shoresh is Atzmut HaNefesh. In other words, if you have no Seichel, how do you know that there is a root for the Seichel? Atzmut HaNefesh knows. Clearly there's much more that can be elaborated, but we have to find this at the end. The kshem, okay, the end of that fourth line. The kshem shehoisi etzatzmo. We're just as the oises themselves. A mekoiron. What?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
What is
Before
it?
you go on, can I ask two questions?
Go ahead.
Okay, number one, we're still in the context of talking about Koyach HaTziduf, right?
Yeah.
Tzedek.
Yeah.
So is this that the Rav does, this is explaining that what the Rav does when he goes back to the Yetzim, he's coming up with a different combination to express this idea. How does this relate to Tziduf? That's one question. The other question is this quality, this thing we're describing that the Talmud knows that there must be a truth. It sounds a lot like Emunah.
It is.
This is Emunah.
This is Emunah. Emunah is also part of
So
Seichel.
how about
What is the root of Seichel?
how about my first question?
I'm sorry?
How about my first question?
Okay, repeat
The
the first
connection
question.
between this and
Tzirufim, the name from Tziruf. The principle of Tziruf is I'll give you a very simple means to think of it. I don't remember, lately I had this discussion with somebody. So you look at a tree, and the tree consists of thousands of leaves. Would you ever think of how many leaves that a tree possesses? How many leaves constitute a tree? What's the answer? A tree is not constituted of a number of leaves. It's constituted of the fact that every spot where a leaf could be, there is a leaf. It's completely covered with leaves. This thing that is completely covered with leaves is not that we've created so many leaves. We've created a tree. And this tree is mitzaref. That includes all the leaves that come out of it. This is at koyach hiyuli. This is at the tziruf. Tziruf means it can take 1,000 different entities and actually tell you and present it to you and say, see, understand that this is all one thing. And therefore, if you understand that it's all one, you can explain all the details that you observe and show how they're all interrelated. Does that answer your question, Baruch? At least help you relate to it?
Yes, that's helpful. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go at the end of the fourth line from the top of page Nunvot.
Just a technical question about his question. The Rav initially developed a concept through the Koyach HaTziruf, according to this. Is he now going back and using the same Koyach HaTziruf?
No. There's a person who invented a car. Then there's a person who doesn't know what a car is, and you are going to explain to him what a car is. Essentially, you want him to understand the car at the same level as the one who invented it. But it's never going to be exactly the same. Because he has a different principle behind it. But you're going to try and explain it to him at his level. The one who invented the car and the one who is learning about the car, they're both speaking about transportation. So what's the big difference? The difference is this. The one who invented the car speaks of transportation prior of its existence, that it must be. The one who's learning about the car is one who is already confronted with the problem of transportation. How do I get from this place to there? It's a completely different level. Speaking about the same thing on a completely different level. Why must there be transportation? We said many times, because I have responsibility for the entire world. Then when I'm confronted with the problem of transportation on a completely different level. Okay?
So in that explanation, it seems that the explanation to the Talmud is of a lesser, it's not as deep and profound as the initial.
Of course not. Of course not. We said he cannot give the Talmud the seichel as he has it to himself.
So then, when we say that it comes from a higher source, what then are we referring to? The ability to transfer this knowledge of how it works, or that there is such a thing as a car that can do what it's needed. We say about it that it comes from that there's a greater power needed for this.
Right. Explain the reason. Because by him there was a source for it. By him there was a source for it. By Talmud there is not a source. There's no idea. It's a completely novel idea that you have to go from that. There's a traveling element.
But we don't call this deeper, we call it a different type of power. We call it a greater power, but not
It's
a
a
deeper
deeper
power.
source to be able to explain that at this level.
A what, say
A
again?
deeper source to be able to explain that at this level.
So so then you're saying it is even deeper.
It is even deeper than it was even more difficult to explain, to find the oasis to explain to a Talmud than the oasis that explained it to himself in the first place.
Difficult, yes, but not deeper, it seems. I don't know if I'm touching on anything important. It's just
All right. Okay, let's continue, okay? Is there a time to continue? We're finished with our time. Finished. This is it.
okay.